Hello. Welcome everybody. So happy to have everybody coming in. We have Kim, we have Miss Desi, we have Diane, Lindy, Patricia. So excited to have you all here. It is a beautiful afternoon, evening. Uh, Hope everybody is feeling well. All right. Gonna wait just a few more seconds before we dive in here. I know some more people are coming. Right on. So grateful to be here tonight, to be sharing this workshop with you guys, to be offering this lesson that is coming straight from my heart. Um, I am just, yeah, this has been something that has lived ferociously in me for several years now. And something that I I know that it's part of my dharma. I know it's part of who I am in this life cycle, and what it is that I meant to share to give into the world. So, I'm just so overwhelmingly grateful, to be honest, to be sitting here and to be sharing this work. So, um, I want to make sure that everybody has a good pen, maybe a couple pens, some paper. We are definitely going to be getting our writing on tonight, and I really want I want to encourage you to be a full-blown student tonight. I want you to sit back into that seat of like ready to be educated. I want you to get really curious, and I want to invite you to please, please, please take notes. Take as many notes as you can. Write down as much of this stuff as possible. And I will also provide afterward. I have like just a little kind of follow up workbook for everyone tonight, to help you take this information and move forward, and to begin to do this work for yourself, on your own time. And yeah, so welcome Diane, welcome Kim, welcome Lindy, welcome Miss Desi, Meg, River, Patricia. So happy to have you here. I've got some new friends, and some Kim Circle members, and I'm just really, really grateful for each and every one of you to be here tonight and to receive this information and this sharing from my heart. So, um, I'm just going to go ahead and dive in, and please feel free. The chat is open. If you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat, and I will try to kind of stay on top of that and make sure that I get to all of your questions if you have any, as we move forward. So, like I said, make sure that you have paper, make sure that you have pen, and are ready to write. And before we even begin, I'd just like to offer everyone a chance to do a little gentle breathing. to really settle yourself into the space. This is going to be a container where we're going to be looking at um, some very powerful lived experiences. We are at a time right now where there's just the energy of so much shifting, and there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of heaviness there. I don't think I know a single person who isn't really working through a lot right now. So just allow yourself to have curiosity, allow yourself to have compassion, allow yourself to kind of let go of whatever fear is coming up. Well, not let go of the fear, witness the fear with compassion, with curiosity, rather than with judgment. Um, and and just be in a space of like giving yourself a little more love. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna tap in.
Without him, right? Okay.
Oh. If you don't mind, if everybody could just mute themselves for right now. I'm just gonna make sure. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So we're just gonna go ahead and just rock back into your seats. I'd like to invite everybody to take a big, beautiful inhale in. Exhale out. Let your shoulders drop. Relax the tension in your jaw. You don't have to close your eyes, but I invite you to either close down the eyes or to find that single point of focus. Maybe just something there in front of you that you can focus on as you inhale in, feeling the breath flowing in through the nose, and then exhale out. And just do a gentle body scan rolling up from the feet, into the knees, into the seat, up into the core of the body, the chest, rolling down the arms into the hands, softening the entire body as you breathe. Breathing up into the neck, into the head, softening the face. I invite you to inhale, deep inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then hold that breath for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then exhale long and smooth. 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Smooth, slow exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Empty. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold that breath. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last long, smooth exhale. Empty, 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 empty. Beautiful. Soften it down. Beautiful. Okay, friends, welcome in. Welcome into your body. Welcome into your space. Thank you for taking those few beautiful breaths with me. Tonight, we are looking at a workshop that I have put together, and it's something that is incredibly important and incredibly close to my heart. Memoir writing has supported me through some of the most powerful chapters of my healing journey. And tonight, I want to share a practice that you can use, that you can come back to again and again, whether you're feeling disconnected, whether you're feeling confused, if you need clarity, if you're in the search of truth. Memoir is so much more than remembering, and we're going to go into the to this. Memoir is so much more than remembering. It is reclaiming. It's not about writing an autobiography or about having perfect memory. Okay, it's about using themes like love, motherhood, friendship, identity, body image, work ethic. There's all kinds of themes that we can explore from a new and an elevated vantage point. Okay. And so when we look at these themes through the lens of our own lived experiences, we begin to notice certain patterns, right? Such as, what bravery really means to us and where we learned it, how friendship shaped our sense of belonging or exclusion, how love or loneliness was taught to us and how it makes us feel worthy or not worthy. And so all these are all different themes that we can look into, right? And what's really powerful about what I'm going to teach you tonight is the actual writing practice. So, I have a master's degree in English and creative writing. I have been writing memoir for, uh, goodness, the 4 decades almost, or 3 decades at least. And I started actually, funny enough, a lot earlier than I even remembered until I wrote a memoir about it. And all of a sudden, my memory started coming up, and I was like, oh, yeah, I was writing these in elementary school, and I just didn't even realize it at that time. So, this is like I said, something that I found memoir, or I should say memoir found me when I was getting my degree in creative writing. I thought I wanted to write poetry. I thought I wanted to write fiction. I have 80,000 words of a fantasy novel. I have countless poems. That's what I thought I wanted to write. And then I was put into a creative nonfiction class where I was kind of just given an assignment that I had to complete. And in doing that, I was put into a position where I had to take on a task, and I was given instruction by my professor to um, use this tool of creative writing to look at a certain memory of mine, just finding one little theme, this one little story that I could use. And the very first one that I did when I was in school was I looked at my time in the military. And I thought it was the only thing that was interesting about me. And that was, that was the pressure I put on myself. I put on this pressure around memoir because I wanted it to be a story worthy of telling. I wanted it to be a story that, had something interesting, right? But let me be the one to tell you that every part of your story deserves to be told. And whether you're looking at it or you're sharing it or not sharing it, this isn't about, giving your story to the world. It's about giving your story to yourself and being able to look at um this is like a telling the truth to yourself gently, bravely, and without any shame. So, creative writing, like we're going to be looking at scene setting, character description, dialogue, sensory detail. When we look at these things, we begin to bypass the conscious mind and tap into the subconscious mind. And that's why, this is rewriting the story, right? This is looking at memoir writing as a tool for subconscious work, as shadow work. You hear a lot about shadow work in the holistic world. What is shadow work? It's making the unconscious conscious. But we need a way to access that subconscious, that unconscious. And memoir is a beautiful tool that will give you access to it, right? So when we use these beautiful tools given to us by creative writing, we have access. And within this work, we're going to be able to find this deep insight into ourselves, where we're going to find, beliefs that we didn't even realize that we were carrying, these limiting beliefs. We're going to be able to actually start alchemizing our pain and turning it into purpose. Take our traumas and turn them into triumph. Take these wounds and turn them into wisdom. This is transformation. This is alchemy. So we're not here to fact check ourselves or speak for anyone else. That's another really important thing to note here is often we don't want to write our memoirs, we don't want to write our stories because we're worried about, a family member or a friend or somebody else's perspective. We're not writing to please anyone else or to make it right. What is right to you? What is true to you? This is the telling of your own truth, right? We are speaking our truth as we lived it, as we felt it. And so it's not about writing right. It's about writing real. And we allow our curiosity to be what guides us. We become journalists of our own lives. And we identify a central lesson and then we look into that theme. So what we're doing in this work as we become our journalists, we're looking for scenes. We're looking for conversations, turning points that support the theme of what we want to write about. And we don't shy away from vulnerability. We lean into it because that is where the transformation is. Okay. And as someone who has studied this creative nonfiction and revised my essays over and over, that is another beautiful part of this process, right? That's where healing comes in. Because when we don't revise this to make it beautiful necessarily, we revise it to make it true. We revise it to find clarity, to witness ourselves differently, to rewrite the story not as a victim, but as the author of our own story. So tonight I invite you into this work and would love to offer just a gentle meditation that is going to help you tap into this space. Okay, so Once again, let's just rock back into your hips. And I want you, if it's okay, to just rock back. And you can, if you're in a seat, that's okay if you want to rock back. But I just want you to stack your shoulders over your hips and your ears over your shoulders. And once again, either find that single point of focus or to close down your eyes. Begin tapping into your breath, feeling your breath coming in and rolling out. And if you have any random thoughts flying through, just witness them. Soften your shoulders, soften your neck. See if you can soften along the jaw, the face, the tip of the nose. Soften into your seat, letting yourself be held in this space. Once again, following that breath in and out. And in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine you're standing in a forest and you see a beautiful tree in front of you. You feel the earth beneath your feet. You feel the soil underneath you. You can smell the soil. You can smell the leaves, that beautiful scent of wood, of dirt, of earth, fresh air rolling around you. You're looking at this beautiful tree and all the trees around you. And what we see around us, we see the trunk, we see the branches, we see the leaves. Maybe we can even witness that there is a nest with birds, a squirrel running along the branches. It's easy to see this tree and all its mightiness standing there, rooted into the earth. And then we kind of feel ourselves as we stand there. We feel a sense of rootedness for ourselves. We look down at ourselves, we see our feet, we see our body, our legs, our hands. And just like this tree, we can focus on what we see. But just like that tree and its roots that are underneath, we know that this tree has these hidden roots, reaching down into the earth, finding nourishment, that it has grown from the soil, from deep inside the earth. And that's where its nourishment is. It's where its source is coming from. And then it needs those roots in order to reach up into the sky. And you think to yourself that you too have roots. Roots that are unseen to the naked eye. Stories from your life that are not visible on your flesh, but nonetheless have impact. That you come from somewhere, that you were raised in a different way, that you have stories, you have ancestry. And you can think about all of the things, all the stories, the ancestors, the family, the conditioning of your life, all in this unseen place. We look at that part of ourselves for a moment and think this is the subconscious. This is what is not seen. These stories that make up who I am, who you are. Your hands have a story, your feet have a story. Your knees come from a family member, an ancestor. And that ancestor has a story that's living inside your body. Just like this root, the roots on this beautiful tree came from an acorn that fell off another tree. And their family, and one thing led to another. And there it is. Just let yourself get curious for a moment as you think about this for yourself. As you explore what might be in your roots. Think about your parents, your upbringing, your grandparents, your ancestry, and where you've come from, the lineage that you come from. You think about society and the culture and the soil that you have been born from. The nutrients of the very soil, very life in this space, and the nutrients that are feeding into your roots, and the impact that they have had on your body, on your health, on who you identify as, and the way that you think and feel about yourself. Just allow yourself, without any judgment, to just witness this, to acknowledge this. Allow yourself to feel a little strength as you stand there. Strength, just like this tree has strength. Stability, just as this tree is stable, you are stable. And the tree is not shamed for its soil, it is not shamed for its roots. And so we too should not shame ourselves for the soil that we have been planted into, for the soil that our roots live in, for our roots in themselves. And we can find gratitude and we can find strength within them. Gently bring yourself back to your breath, feeling your chest expand as you inhale in and exhale out, and gently bring yourself back into your room. Maybe you want to roll out your wrists, roll out your arms, maybe do a little stretch. Beautiful. Thank you for doing that little journey with me. So, the next part that we're going to look at real quick before we dive into the actual memoir practice is understanding the subconscious mind. So, the subconscious mind is like I said, that the root system of that great tree. And often, what do? We focus, like I said, we focus on the visible, our habits, our reactions, our relationships. But the truth is that everything we do is deeply influenced by what lies beneath the surface. And 95% of our thoughts, our behaviors, our decisions are governed by the subconscious. Now, Carl Jung, the father of shadow work and the in the psychological world, this is actually a very ancient practice, but the Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So this work is incredibly powerful for you being able to take true control of yourself because you're taking that unconscious and you're making it conscious. Yes, amazing quote. So this is just I in my mind, in my belief, this is the most sacred work that we can do. This is one of the most impactful things that we can do in this life. Because when we start owning our thoughts, our behaviors, our life, and we actually have conscious awareness, this is an awakening. We can show up in the world with those things that all the holistic healers are talking about. Ooh, move forward with alignment. Have clarity, have confidence in yourself. And it's really hard to get to those things when you don't even know who you are and why you are the way you are. Socrates said, know thyself, right? And that is what we're here to do. Know thyself, right? So our subconscious mind stores imprints. It stores inherited beliefs, internalized messages from our childhood, from the culture, from our trauma, from the soil, from the roots. And unlike the conscious mind, right, this logical, linear, analogical, way of thinking, the subconscious doesn't speak necessarily in these straight thoughts, right? And these logical linear thoughts. It speaks with symbol. Oh, thumbs up. It speaks with emotion. It speaks with image and it speaks with story. Right? So, in other words, your life is shaped more by what you believe in your subconscious than what you know in your conscious. So, why it matters in healing, right? You may consciously want to connect with other people. You may consciously want to have success. You may consciously want to feel peace. But your subconscious is carrying stories like, I'm not safe to be seen. I have to earn love. I'm not worthy of rest. If I slow down, everything will fall apart. Right? And that takes away our peace. That takes away our feelings of being able to connect with someone else because we have these deep ingrained subconscious beliefs that are fighting against what the conscious mind thinks and wants. So these internal beliefs are often rooted in early emotional experiences, even if we don't consciously remember them. And memoir writing becomes a mirror and it allows us to surface these old beliefs and patterns that we didn't even know were running. We're able to see ourselves as the witness instead of staying in the wound. And we're able to reclaim our truth and rewrite our relationship with the past. So, writing is this beautiful pathway to the subconscious mind. And unlike talk therapy, right? And this is really an important thing because I do not want to bash therapy or talk therapy. It is absolutely important and important. But talk therapy and goal setting and very, sitting down and talking through things is not going to allow you to do quite the same thing that writing does. And this is proven over and over. Right, it is not a cure-all. Writing is what's going to help us actually bypass that thinking mind, that that beautiful sense of awareness that we get in conversation, right? And we're actually going to be able to access the hidden gems that that are beneath the logic, right? Because a lot of what we feel isn't logical. And then we feel shame because it's not logical, which as you do this work, you're going to just laugh at. And it's just going to become something that you're going to be like, okay, now I can find forgiveness, finally. Right? You can let go of the shame, the guilt, because all of a sudden you can see that healing isn't linear. And so when you write for memory using setting, character, sensory details, you engage both hemispheres of your brain, right? The emotional and the analytical. So that's why writing is so important. And this actually activates our neuroplasticity. Okay, and it helps you rewire how you remember, respond, and relate to your own story. You literally become the author of your lived experience. So, writing doesn't just help you remember, it helps you reframe and reclaim the meaning of what happened, right? Like I said, with memoir, um, this isn't autobiography. So there's a big difference between memoir and memory. Okay? So you do not need to have a perfect memory to do this work. That's the number one people thing that people come back with me is they say, I don't remember. I don't have a strong memory. So, memoir is not about fact checking. All right. It's about truth telling. It's not about what happened to everyone. It's about how you experienced it, your experiences, and what it's meant to you and how you lived it. Right. It's not writing history. We're actually writing healing. Okay. So, an example. Memoir is, like I said, it's done by theme. So when I am looking at, and we'll actually let me just go on a little bit more, and I think this will clear up, Kim. So memoir does not equal autobiography. Autobiography is the story from top to bottom about yourself. It's very linear. And that can be a kind of memoir, absolutely, but only if it is looking at a specific theme. So for example, let me give you a few examples of some themes. Fatherhood, motherhood, parenting in general, love, relationships, body image, grief. We can look at the theme of rebirth. We can think of the theme of our spiritual awakening. We can think, I mean, there's so many themes that we can look at. And then what do? You're not looking at you're not looking at just one memory. You're looking at potentially several little memories and feelings, right? It's not about listing what happened to you, it's about choosing that theme and looking at your life through the lens of that theme. Okay. So I want you to think for yourself right now. And this may have come up for you already since we've been here. This may be very loud for you right now. And there may be several that you want to lean into, but I really encourage you to try to narrow it down to one. Just to, for tonight's sake, and then you please go forth and dive into all the themes. But is there a theme that is alive in you right now? Okay, so this may be something that just keeps surfacing for you. Maybe it keeps coming up in your regular daily thoughts, in your dreams, and your patterns, and your biggest daily fear. Honestly, is where I would encourage you to go. Like if you were to do a brain dump and to think about all of the things that are just you can't stop thinking about, right? Whether it's, I just wish I was feeling more confident. That is my current theme. Like, I really want to feel confident in this work. So I've been looking at confidence in my life. What was I told about confidence? What was I taught about being a confident person? When I taught yoga this morning, in our Kim circle, I was looking at that in particular. I don't want to be cocky. I don't, like there's all of these limiting beliefs that start coming up just because of that one central theme. Okay, so I want you to kind of think about a theme and then kind of write that down at the top or wherever on your paper. Just write out a theme that you want to choose. Okay, so when we write with sensory detail, dialogue, scene setting, we activate the emotional centers of the brain, right? So think about this, for example, when I'm sitting, for example, with a therapist. Well, my dad did this, my mom did this, and da 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 da. Like I have these very bullet point things. But when I'm writing memoir and I'm writing my story, I'm writing out for you. I was sitting in my room wearing a purple dress that made me feel itchy. It smelled strong of vinegar in the house. My mother was down in the kitchen, right? There's all of a sudden, just with those few sensory details, you're able to feel the situation. Something big happens there, right? We don't just, oh, my mom did this, and I had this. More so, all of a sudden, I'm back in my little girl body. I smell that thing. I feel that thing. I associate. Yes, it is very much like dropping back in. So this is where I want you to write out a few different things. Scene setting. So write scene setting, and I will also, like I said, I will email everybody after this. And in the Kim Circle, of course, I will. All of this information will be available to you. But scene setting. Where were you? Right? And what could you smell, hear, touch, feel? What are the sensory descriptions in your scene? Heat, cold, tension, the smell, the creaking floorboards. And then character description. Who was there? What were they wearing? both you and them. How did that person's presence feel? How did they look at you? How did that look make you feel? And then dialogue. What was being said, and maybe what was being left unsaid, right? Because a lot of the times, and this is once again, I'm going to go back into this is the way you remember it. This is not fact, this is truth for you, your truth. And that's why when you read a lot of memoir books, they start off every book saying, "This is the way I remember it. This is my lived experience. This is not fact. And this is every everyone else in this story has a different version, right? It's somebody else's side of the story." So remember that. Bring yourself back into that. What do you remember being told? That doesn't mean that that is what actually happened. And that is okay because that is what is real for you. So these are not just writing techniques. These are pathways into your memory. This is how we're actually going to be able to trigger our memories. And the memory is a beautiful gateway to that subconscious, right? And don't get too caught up in writing this beautiful, writing well, like, oh, I just want to write so well. Write real. Okay, so, um, like I said, I'm hoping everybody has a theme, but if not, there's a couple different ideas, right? Maybe life is trying to teach you something right now. You could think about what you're trying to learn right now. You like that what lesson keeps coming up that you feel like you need to learn. Or maybe it's just like this sense of I'm ready to understand this. I've been feeling so much confusion. It could be very, very bold, like I just don't know who I am and what I want. And you just want to dive in on that. Right? It could be very, very narrow, or it can be very, very broad. And it's beautiful actually, because sometimes you'll start writing and the theme will just naturally uncover itself. Okay, so from here, based on that theme, I want to invite you to jot down one or two, maybe three memories, moments, time periods that are connected to that theme. I'm just going to give you a few minutes here. And once again, let me know if you have questions. Um, but see if like any particular memory, moment, time period, anything comes up for you. I encourage you to write from the body, to write from the emotion and the raw truth. There's a beautiful, like a 5 sense method. If you drop into that one memory, you can write these down as well. Where were you? What was the lighting like? Who was there? What was being said? And what were you feeling in your body? I'm going to give you just a couple more minutes here. And then I would like to offer us just a space if anybody would like to share their theme or like to share what's coming up? Absolutely voluntary, of course. Before we share, I'd like you to just take a breath. I want you to look at what you've written so far. And I want you to ask yourself, is there a belief that was born in this moment that you're reflecting on? From this theme, was what did this experience mean to you, right? And I encourage you to write it out. It could be something like, I'm too much. I can't trust anyone. I have to earn love. Like, see if you can excavate and find that there's a belief underneath this theme, underneath this memory. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up and see if anybody would like um, to share, if they have a specific theme that's coming up, if they want to share a memory. Like I said, this is completely voluntary. If you would like, you can just take yourself off mute. Hi, Diane.
Um, I'm Australian, so forgive the accent.
Oh, I love it. You are so welcome here. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Oh, it's an honor. It's definitely an honor. Yeah, what came up for me in this was a theme that is probably very classic for my age. I'm 69, so I'm looking backwards and it keeps happening. And I keep finding myself wondering, have I wasted my life? Why did I make the choices I've made? And some of which, as I'm reflecting, seem to have caused me enormous amounts of pain.
Mm.
Um, and at this age, I guess you kind of look back and you go, it it could have been so much easier if I had have made that choice or this choice or whatever choice. And I think I'm tapping into what you said about the influence of our unconscious and how while we make commitments consciously to live a certain way, our unconscious can have very different ideas about what it wants us to do and for healing purposes for sure. Except at this age, I'm not sure I've made the healing.
Well, and
But
what's
anyway.
beautiful about this is we get to recognize that we didn't know what we didn't know when we didn't know it.
Mm.
Right? We didn't know what we didn't know when we didn't know it. And sitting around and getting really mad at ourselves and looking at all of our regrets and the things that we wish we would have done differently. It's really, really, it can be really hard, but we have to look back on that version and think, well, she didn't know what she didn't know, right? And the same thing with our, when we're looking to forgive others. Most of the time they didn't know. And if they did know, they were just they were choosing fear over the love, right? They're not choosing love because they didn't know it potentially, And so we take this time to kind of look at that in itself and to find some peace through that forgiveness,
Mm.
through that understanding. It's been one of the most healing parts of all of it for me. So I've written and written and written all of these different memoirs now. And the biggest thing that I've been able to do for myself is finally find self love and self compassion through the understanding that I could only do at that point in time what I knew to do at that point in time. Yeah. I'm curious. So like you have this theme of like is your theme kind of like wishing things were being different? Is that kind of the theme?
Um, yeah, I guess it's probably what you tapped into there. There's regret
Mm,
and processing the regret. And the little piece I wrote seemed to be going back in time about a choice I made that caused me to let down an adult.
mm,
And I was interested in what you were saying, like what did you learn from that? And back then I learned to feel ashamed when not living up to what adults expected of me. And that's been a theme in my life, I think, where I have shown up a lot as someone who's felt ashamed because I'm not living up to the expectations of people around me, and it's caused me a lot of pain. And it's definitely in this little story that I just wrote.
mm. Yeah, well, that's beautiful, and thank you for sharing that because
Thank
I
you.
I think that so many of us um, can absolutely um, feel that, like how much shame that we have felt just in not being who we thought we should be, not being who others wanted us to be, right? Letting someone else down. I mean, that's like our biggest fear, right? And that's what's going to make us feel worthy as if we can live up to somebody else's standards. And it's a beautiful thing when you have the option to shift and reframe that, right? No longer be trapped by that story and come, from a place of, okay, now I didn't know that. It was subconscious. It was underneath, it was down in the roots, it was down in the dirt where I couldn't see it. And now that I've excavated it and now I've been able to look at it, I can be wiser. I can be more conscious. I can have more choice. And you can move forward with a little more empowerment in that. And we can't erase the past, right? But we can reclaim um, these experiences and shift into what we would really like to have for ourselves, right? So from our present day self, we can go back to our younger selves and we, can ask our younger self, like, what is it that you need? Right? Because most of the time, like, what our needs were not being met, right? What what did they need to feel? What did they need to hear? What did they need to, believe? And how could they have believed in themselves a little more? And how can we start bringing that up into ourselves now and bringing that into our bodies now?
Mm.
And that's when we can actually start doing more holistic work, right? We can write letters of release. We can start doing swaying and movement and, somatic breath work and different things like that that are going to help us actually physically process and release the shames, the guilts, the sorrows, the pains that we're feeling and let that go. And I know that you're not alone, Diane, in feeling your age, and feeling like, well, you know, I maybe it's like too late, or I'm too old to move forward or anything like that. I know Kim, for example, she and I have talked about this a lot, and how you were absolutely not, you know it's not too late. You still have years to feel wise, to feel joy, to feel passion, to feel excitement for your life, to find that forgiveness. And it's a beautiful thing when you do, because you can feel purposeful. I didn't find this work lightly. I I had lost my kids. I was divorced. I was in a incredible place of pain and sorrow and suffering. I hated who I was. I had betrayed myself over and over again in the name of taking care of everyone else, in the name of trying to people please and do the right thing by others. I had lost myself entirely and didn't even know who I was or what I wanted. And that's how I came to be here, sitting right here right now, is pushing through all of that and gradually, lovingly reframing it, feeling into it, and then processing and releasing it, even on that physical level, embodying the work. And this beautiful memoir writing is kind of this beautiful first step, right? We have to get to the awareness first. It's the key that is going to unlock the next steps forward for us. And it's such a beautiful process once you start allowing it, because then you take this, these little stories that you're going to write, and let me make sure that I pinpoint, like, it's not always easy to write these stories. And it's really, really easy to shy away from the writing process. We get into it and it's easy to avoid. And to this day, like I still have some times where I'm just like, I don't want to look at this. I don't want to look at this. It's awful, right? But it's like I said, it's in that vulnerability that we find the pathway forward to transformation. You think about anything that grows, right? It has to go through metamorphosis. The seed has to crack open. The caterpillar has to go into a cocoon and turn into sludge. We have to go through this painful thing in order to alchemize, right? And I say that this memoir is this tool to turn your wounds into wisdom, right? That alchemization process is not necessarily a pleasant one, but we find true gratitude in the pain afterward, right? So you're just taking, like, how beautiful and how brave you are in this moment to be able to, like, say, like, I felt this way and this is what was going on with me, and now I can reframe it. Now I don't have to have that story as my story. Now I don't have to live in this, right? Because you could choose that. You could just say, oh, well, I messed up and I'm a mess up, and just own that. Or you could say, no, I was taught to feel this way. This was a programmed into me, and I can choose differently. And you can step forward with more love and more compassion and more grace. And that is what's going to cultivate the light that is in you, that will shine and that you can feel good about in the world as you progress forward. So, was there anybody else that maybe would like to share a little bit of their theme or what came up from them, their story?
If it's okay, I would like to mention when Diane, when you brought up shame, shame for me at one point was, I feel like under a larger umbrella. And just in this exercise, Jessa, that we've done, Willow, that we've done tonight, adding the senses, the smell, the touch, the feeling, all of those things helped me more to see, feel, and understand my theme. And my theme for me was basically unconditional or conditional love. Um, you know, I've always been looking for unconditional love, and I don't think I've ever really had that. I think that when I look back in the story that I started to write is a story about my father and I doing times tables when I was very, very young, learning times tables, and I was horrible at them. But because I was not good at them, I was constantly told, well, why can Missy so-and-so do them? And why can Allison so-and-so do them? Why can't you figure them out? But although that was shaming, he was shaming me. It was also making me ask myself, does he really love me? I'm not good enough to be loved. This isn't unconditional love. This is conditional love. And that's what I got.
Thank you for sharing that, Kim.
Sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that is exactly what happens when we go in, right? We find this theme, like, okay, unconditional love, and what was that? What could I possibly excavate from my lived experience that would tie in with this fear that I am not unconditionally loved, that I'm conditionally loved? And we find these periods of time, and you bring yourself back in, And that's when we have this beautiful opportunity for next steps, right? And that's where inner child work comes into play. And we can take that little girl that sat at that table and we can offer that unconditional love. Because we're not leaving us, right? We're gonna stand by.
Right.
We're gonna say, I have you. I love you. This is hard. I resonate so deeply with that story in particular. I, you know,
Probably a lot of people do.
right, a lot of people, because
School.
at some point in time we felt stupid.
Yeah.
We felt, like we weren't gonna, like I truly believe for the mass majority of my life that I was like not even capable of learning. That it was just, the best thing that I could do with my life was be a laborer, was go do work with my hands because this just didn't work. That was just this belief that I had, right? And so that's what we then look at, right? We have, and this is just this little exercise. Imagine writing a full story, right? So we see these memories and we get, okay, there's a belief, right? I had to earn love, right? And then we get to reframe the belief. I am inherently worthy of love. Love is, I have a divine right to love. I am love,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we get to choose this new belief. And that's where this beautiful sense of choice comes in. And then sense of empowerment comes from that. Because we get what? We got one life. We got this one go round in this body, right? And we've lived so many years in the past, like believing this thing. Well, you know what? I don't want that to be my truth anymore. And just that simple of ability to say, I want it to be different,
Choice.
right? And then we do the next steps, right? And there's always next steps because like I said, this is not linear work. That's why I built the programs the way that I built my programs. That's why I built the Kim Circle the way I have, because it needs to be holistic. We need to not just, go and sit in the talk therapy or sit and write the story. There's always going to be something that follows up. Right? We need the somatic movement, we need the breath work, we need the meditations, we need the reframing. We need the inner child work and the reparenting. And what do we need more than with all of that? Community, somebody to talk to, somebody to connect with, empathize with. Because just like all of us, we're just like, yep, I felt that way. I did that too. All of a sudden, oh, wow, I'm not alone. I felt that too. I am not, we are not meant to heal and cannot heal in isolation. And unfortunately, so many of these limiting beliefs that we will uncover as you do this work are telling you to isolate yourself. They're telling you you don't belong. They're telling you you're not worthy of love, that you're not good enough, that you're too much, or whatever it is that is going to have you isolate. When that's the exact opposite of what we need. You think about and I think, Kim, we talked about this. You think about a baby deer, 20 minutes after it's born, it gets up and walks around. You can't do that with a human child. We are not the same, right? You cannot put a baby out into the field and get up and go. No, we need each other. It's very, very different. So, now I want everybody to kind of to look at that belief, and I want you to see if you can reframe it right here and now. I want you to look at the belief that is coming up for you, right? That And whatever it is that you're resisting, let me tell you, that's the one. Whatever it is that you're resisting is usually what needs your attention. And if you need support, that's why we're here together. So ask away if you have a question. And think to yourself, how can I reframe this, right? How can I take this belief and choose something else? And if you don't think that's possible, call it out.
Possible.
It is possible. The thing that you think is impossible, that's your number one indicator that you have a belief that needs reframed. I'm going to give everybody just 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to offer one more opportunity to share what it is. And when we do this, I want to say that there is hardly anything more brave, more courageous than being vulnerable. Now, I say that with so much love and trauma-informed care that you are absolutely not, you do not have to share. But if you were hoping to step into more courage and more bravery for yourself, I highly recommend verbally declaring this for yourself.
Okay.
My name is River.
Hi.
And hey,
Hi, River.
sent my youngest child to kindergarten yesterday.
Hmm. Big thing.
Yeah, it was a big deal. And I guess I'm scared that I'm not enough for my children. And that I can't do it. But I am because I'm showing up. So that's all I've got. I'm like hanging by a string here, guys.
I just want you to state that, River. I want you to say, I am enough for my children and I am a good mother. Own that because you are. That hit right in the
Yeah.
oh, yeah, right in the guts. Thank you. Mhm.
Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for
Mhm.
listening.
Mhm. Anyone else? Would anybody else like to share what they're working on, what they're reframing by chance? No pressure. My reframe currently is that I am worthy of confidence. This is a very interesting thing to claim because I thought that if I was confident, it was going to make me a bad person. That it was going, if I owned my abilities, if I owned my my strengths in the way that I could show up and actually be confident in them, that it was going to somehow take away my humility. And that if I wasn't humble, then I wasn't good. And my sense of being a good girl and being a good woman is very much tied to that humility. And so I'm claiming that I am worthy of confidence. Not only that it's so odd, right? Oh, of course I want to be confident. But even to just get to the worthiness of the confidence, that I could be enough to be confident. It's interesting how much swirls around in that. And so for me, I have been working on a new piece where I've been looking, at the memories that I can excavate from what I believe, what I was taught about being confident, about being humble, right? I've been looking at the way my parents behaved, the way my grandparents behaved, the way society behaves, what I was taught through school, looking even at those little themes like you did, Kim, the little memories of where I was essentially to my younger self taught that I was not smart enough. Right? And there's so much that's coming up, that's resurfacing. And as I do that resurfacing, right? What can happen is all of this comes up to the surface and we could just let it fall back down. Right? But instead, I'm taking, it's like the skin, it's like the fat coming up on top of the milk, right? I'm going to take that. I'm not going to just let it fall back down. I'm going to take that. I'm going to work with that. And so that's why I've built the Kim Circle membership the way I have. So for everyone here that is that doesn't know about me, about what I provide. And I guess I'm just now realizing I didn't actually introduce myself. My name is Jessa Francis. I am a trauma-informed yoga teacher, a holistic shadow work and memoir writing coach. I am a mother of 3 beautiful children. I am a creative. I am a passionate woman doing her damnedest to live a life of passion and purpose and to be a good human. And if that doesn't give me a sense of worthiness around being able to be confident, I don't know what else will. And I run an online membership called the Kim Circle. And a Kim, Caim, is a Gaelic word that means sanctuary. And I created this sanctuary where people can come and let down their guard and feel seen, connected, to feel like they have a space where they can be heard and to share their stories, to be witnessed in their healing and their growth and their transformation, to know that they're not alone. Because why? Because that was my pain. Feeling lost, feeling alone, not knowing who I was. The reason I can teach self-awareness and shadow work is because it is what I have spent years going through. And being alone and needing support was what I needed. And now that is why I provide this. I have turned my pain into purpose. I have taken my wounds and turned them into wisdom that I can share. And so the Kim, Caim, has been broken down into a framework. And this is actually part of the A and part of the C. So C is connection. A is awareness, I is integration, and M is momentum. Because we need to connect, we need to get aware, and then we need to actually move forward, right? Embodiment. And then we can manifest, we can build momentum, we can move into life with truth, with mastery of the self. And so that is why I've created the Kim Circle, and that's why I put together these programs. And that's what I do is I host this Kim Circle. And we have Sacred Tea and Truth, which is an intention setting ceremony every single Sunday. We have weekly yoga classes. We have monthly coaching, monthly shadow work, monthly creative alchemy, and beautiful Meg here in our call hosts our therapy informed art classes. There's just, it is a space that has so much inside of it, as well as a beautiful family of people that are doing this work together and allowing themselves to show up. And we actually are doing all kinds of things like vocal alchemy, where we're sharing our stories and working on that throat chakra, working on our ability to speak, to actually share what's coming up for us, because that's tough, right? It can be really hard to say the vulnerable thing, to share the story, that we don't want anybody to know. But when we do that, baby, let me tell you, magic. It's where the confidence and where the empowerment lies. Because there's nothing quite like showing up for yourself and being capable of that. So that is my plug. And do any of you have anything to share or just have any questions? Like I said, I will be sharing just like some like an overview of this, like just a little worksheet to help you like have afterwards so that you can see for yourself if you did like, okay, I don't want to be afraid of this story anymore, and I'm ready to put pen to paper. I want you to be able to have the tools to work on this. So it's going to have some, points on like those creative descriptors, like how to build a scene, how to look at these parts, how to actually do that work. Um, but besides that, does anybody have any just questions for me right now? Everybody's so quiet. It's totally okay. Okay. Well, Diane, thank you for sharing. Kim, thank you for sharing. River, thank you for sharing. I appreciate you all. Patricia, Meg, Lindy, Jason, Desi, all of you. I just want to say thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for witnessing me and what I know is, like I said, my dharma and what I'm here to share. I hope that this was supportive and useful. I hope it's something that you can take and use in your life, and reach out to me anytime. All of you have my email, so please reach out via email if you have any questions. All the hearts. Thank you. But let's just go ahead and take one last inhale in and rise up your hands. Inhale. Exhale. Lots of emotion. I really, really encourage you guys to go shake it out, to go put on some music, maybe dance it out, move it out. Allow yourself to not just hold on to these emotions that have come up, move through them. Your body will keep the score, so move it, shake it, be with it, breathe through it. And please remember, love. We have a choice, and we can choose that love over the fear. We can choose the compassion. We can choose the curiosity. Okay, so that is always available. You are love and you are worthy. So, mwah. Have a beautiful night, and I will talk to many of you very soon.